Okay, Kevin. Firstly, thank you so much for your patience. I sincerely appreciate it. It's been a really long time. And, you know, I'm pushing to get them done as I can, and I do them in order, and here they are. Okay. Okay, well, it has a yellow sweep that someone tried to paint orange. Honestly, if it was still in yellow, it'd be better looking than it is right now. Loom looks okay. You're missing loom here. I could reloom just this one, which is probably what I do. Aftermarket fishbone. Let me get that off of there. Let's get this thing opened up. Let's see what we got going on. I think it's an aftermarket fishbone. The clasp is definitely aftermarket. Get out of there. Oh yeah, it's definitely aftermarket. Stainless steel. No Japan markings. Oh, would you open? I must have cranked this one down after I looked at it. Woo, it's nice and dirty, just like I like them. Got it. Okay. Yeah, nice and dirty. Look at all the grot in there. That's what we want to see. Huh. It's a water resist dial, but as December 74, I think we got us a mismatch. And for some reason it has a JDM winding bridge. I'm not exactly sure why that is. And it's a JDM. Huh. That is pretty darn interesting. Why would this thing have a 6131A in it? It shouldn't. Well, that's pretty weird. Alright, well, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's more highly jeweled and all that, but shouldn't be there. That's for like this is a speed timer movement. That is pretty weird. Okay, well. A little bit of rust on your spring, but that's not unusual, as Tom Jones says, or sings, rather. I'm going to have to hand clean that so pieces of the loom are stuck to it. So, okay. That's interesting. Righty then. I'm not sure what is up with that movement. Why we have a JDM movement inside a non-JDM watch is kind of a mystery. Alrighty. There we go. Get over there. I mean, the movement looks quite good. Movement looks decent. I don't know why it's not running. It's at full power. See how the winding weight doesn't want to turn on its own, and how it sort of goes jigga jigga like that. That means the mainspring barrel is full power. 6138A. That's so weird. Nah, it definitely does not want to run. Let me get this winding bridge off of here and pull the dial. I want to see the data. So, I mean, the movement really does look nice. It's a nice movement. Gotta say that. No corrosion in there. You'll notice your winding bridge is, well, that's the incorrect screw. That doesn't help anybody. Not down far enough. Let me guess, it's the wrong thread. Because that's what always happens with these. It's the wrong gosh darn thread. Because people don't realize that the screw for the winding assembly, the oscillating framework, or framework with ball bearings, uses a smaller, tighter thread size. Yeah, sure does. That means they jacked up the threads here. Well, that sucks. I'll have to look at that. Just means somebody was... It's a mistake. It's not hard to make, but it's still annoying. Come on, get out, out. Aha. What was that about? Why would that be stopping the thing from running? You have grot on the jewel. Isn't that interesting? Look at that. You go kapoink, and all of a sudden starts to run. Why in the world would that have been stopping it, I wonder? Huh. That is very, very interesting. Told you that mainspring was at power. Balance looks good. I want to look at something real quick. Hang on. Yeah, no lubrication. I want to look under the cap jewel. No lubrication. Sure is running though. Look at it go. Look at it go. Come on. Ooh, it stopped again. Isn't that weird? Oh, well, it stopped because it tried to push the minute counter hand over, and the minute counter hand is not happy. Yeah, it's so gluey. Wow, holy cow. Huh. Okay, well, I want to drop that mainspring. There's that. That wasn't that bad. Okay. What in the heck is going on? Alrighty then. You're probably going to hear some screaming. The whole quarantine thing is making everybody crazy. Willow got into the freezer and ate an entire thing of Ben & Jerry's that belonged to her mother, and then also ate some Bluebell ice cream. Like a huge, she must have eaten 1,000 calories worth of ice cream, which is just unfortunate. So there's that. So you might hear some screaming. Maybe, maybe not. So anyway, the balance looks good. Yeah, it's good looking balance. Alrighty then. I want to get, okay, we're going to get those hands off of here. So I'm going to pause. So this is our reset. That's as far as it'll go. You'll see the minute counter hand obviously is not moving, and that's probably what's holding, because this is so gluey, and that's probably what's holding the sweep hand up. So hang on. So I'm not going to say there's a problem until there's a problem. Just want to see how serious this paint is. I think it's going to pop right off. That's a yellow sweep under there. Honestly, I would just keep it. I mean, I do have orange sweeps, new old stock, but they're terribly expensive. How am I going to test your chronograph wheel? Well, no, it stops the movement when it comes around and hits that gluey thing. Okay, so I'm not worried about not worry about that. Would you get over there? There's that. Boop. Yeah, somebody reconstructed these hands. That's a relooming. Yeah, I've seen worse jobs. Yeah, I've seen worse jobs. We'll look at that and see where we're at. Okay. So, hang on a second. So, my guess. So I'm about to pull this dial. I am gonna say this dial dates. The dial date is gonna be late 1970, fall 1970. I'm just guessing. Just guessing. Just guessing. Hey, your screw's missing. No, in fact, it's broken off. You can actually see the stump of it right there. So I'll have my work cut out to try to get that out. See if I can do it. And this screw is loose. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, so what did I say? Fall 1970, we think? Did you get off of there? Out. Out, out, damn spot. Did they glue this thing down? Come on. You can do it. Let's go. Rouse. Let's move it. Looks like they did something funky. Hang on, they did. They glued this thing in place. I have to get that off. Here, let me just show you. So I can't just hork at it. They didn't. They lost the screw, and instead of finding a screw, they just glued the damn thing in place. So look at it. So it's time for the big reveal. Hang on, just 1 second. Get this thing off the deck. There we go. Big reveal. So I said fall 1970. I'm so wrong. Man, I could not have been wronger. It's just a month or two before the end of the resist text. Look at that. My brain's not plugged in. February 1972. February 72. Well, there we go. All told though, it's a nice dial. I mean, you got some sunburn on the sub registers, but I always kind of like that sort of pumpkiny patina-y. I think I always think that looks kind of nice. Oh, that's a good dial. I like it. There it is. There's your dial ring. Hooray! So yeah, this definitely. It had the it should have, for a 21 jewel JDM movement, it should have kanji, and it doesn't, and it's an A movement, which they stopped by like 1970, in the 1970s. So somebody had some real fun when they were putting this thing together. Real interesting. Okay, I want to rip it apart and really look at it closely. Chronograph stopped, and I have the pallet fork out so we can see how it behaves. And look, I put just a little bit of power in it, and it goes. The reason this thing is hanging up, this is an A movement, which is, again, not what it should have. One of the things that got changed from the A's, this intermediate wheel here, instead of being a nice independent little piece, it's staked to this. And it just, if it's dirty at all, or anything gets in there, this will just drag like a maniac. No, but it's trying to run. I mean, it's spinning anyway, so not a whole lot of power, and it will turn. That's good news. Doesn't look like there's any corrosion inside this thing at all. I mean, having a red text 6138 is pretty neat. I mean, it's an A, which means it doesn't have an adjustment eccentric here for the hammer, which means that if the hammer faces are not where they ought to be, I have to do some very fine handwork to get that done. But yeah, you see, there's that intermediate wheel staked. Yeah, this movement doesn't have a lot of miles. You can see that the port there for the wheel, for the minute counter wheel, a lot of times when you get a lot of resets, it'll sort of dimple that out, and that's nice and flat. Okay, well, that's good news. Hang on just 1 second. I have this in the wrong place. Let's try that. There. Yeah, look at how clean it is. Look at how clean it is. That's pretty cool. Here's your hammer spring. Here's your hammer. There's your minute counter wheel. Gosh, it's really shiny. Okay, now let's pull off the next layer. Said the priest to the courtesan. Oh gosh, it's very shiny looking. Shiny, shiny. Shiny boots of leather. Oop, that screw is loose. That screw is not down. Okay. Let's see what we're seeing. Yeah, it looks good. It's nice seeing something like this. I mean, I was going through my stuff and organizing, and I found this watch. It's one of my own. It's a 6139 8050. It's a JDM speed timer. And you want to compare speed timer movement to speed timer movement. I just happen to have this next to me. Look at the rust. And there's that. Oh, isn't that interesting? That's something you don't see very often. Look at that. So it's a red text JDM, but see, it's a 6139, and then this is machined out. This used to be an A, but they're parts that got used up when the Bs were launched. And so they just milled that out. Isn't that interesting? But anyway, you should be very grateful that your watch movement does not look like that. Okay, with that digression. Get down there. Let's pull that pillar wheel. Come on, you get out. Oh, looking good. Looking good. Huh, why is that flopping around? Shouldn't be. There's something up with the calendar. Alrighty. Off we come. It's a little dirty, but man, that ain't bad. Oh, there's a little bit of corrosion right there, a little bit of wear or something. I'm gonna have to look that over. Okay, now. Oops, hang on a second. I was trying to make sure that this was in camera view. Just do a real quick test. Yes, congratulations, your chronograph wheel is good. As I drop it. Yep, good chronograph wheel. Clutch is holding. Excellent. When I pull these apart, this is the intermediate winding wheel gear, this thingy. When I pull the wheels, I always run this into the same container with those wheels so that I make sure to remember to put it back, because boy, there's nothing worse than reassembling a 6138. You've got it all together, you're checking it, it's awesome, it's running really well, and then you realize the hand winding isn't working, and you're like, oh, and you have to go back in and take that thing apart and put it in, which sucks. Look at that, it's so shiny, shiny clean. There's that. Let's check it out. Our barrel. Come out. Out. Yeah, hazy, but that's it. Pull that apart. Let's see what's inside the barrel. Here we go. Yeah, typical. Nothing awful. Somebody had some fun. They scraped this down because somebody had, you can see the boink right there, somebody had put a divot in this to adjust the way that cock was sitting, so, and then somebody else came in and got rid of it, so that's interesting. All right, I got to working on the next side here. Getting that going. Dear. Again, looks pretty clean, hazy. I see some old grease. That screws loose. And the date dial guard, the lower one, so is that one. And that one wasn't too tight neither. All of those were kind of loose. Well, but you know the old saying, vibration is the devil's crescent wrench. Oops. Here's where one of the extra jewels is. It's right there. Alrighty. Or am I confused? There is the wheel for the 12-hour counter. And that snaps to 0 as it should. I looked at your jewels. They're all intact. You can pull this calendar plate. You always got to be careful when you're doing these because you just press down on them. If they're so far out towards the edge of the hole, you'll just flip the whole thing over. You always want to make sure it's, hey, that wasn't tight at all. That one was just flat out loose. Whoever did work on it, they got the right screws back in the right place. Always nice to, darn it, always nice to see.
Can I borrow some tape?
Yeah, you can just take that if you want. Just take it and go upstairs. Mommy can change it for you, or cut it up for you. Okay, that looks good. Let's see. Ooh, see, yeah, it's nice and early. See, no plastic, all metal. Yeah, baby. It's looking clean. This movement did not have a lot of miles on it. I'm extremely curious as to where it came from and why what looks like a basically new movement ended up inside a watch that had so many miles on it. That's real curious. What'd you get in there? That is real curious. I tell you what. Yeah, you can see there's some grease in here. Interesting. Man, it's awful clean. I would say this movement's almost new. Okay, I got to strip the rest of this stuff off, but I want to be right on top of it when I do that, so. Oh, boy. Well, it has been sort of a crazy period around here, but I just realized that I have been forgetting to make my videos. So anyway, this is in the process of going back together. So I'm pretty much ready to start dropping stuff. Train bridge just went on. Everything looks nice and clean. I got that broken screw replaced now, so the dial is held on properly. No glue, which is important. But it looks nice and shiny, don't you think? Because shiny is important. Shiny is important. Dogs are outstanding. Now that's a reference no one's going to get. Let's see. Sorry, it's been a madhouse around here for the past like 4 or 5 days. Birthdays and all kinds of stuff going on. Lord help me. Okay, so let's see what's going on. That's winding bridge. That's not something I need. Let's look at this and get this next stuff in. Okay. This is one of my habits. It's easier for me to keep a smaller space clean, so I use a freshly cleaned case back as a way to get this done. Oh my God, what a crazy weekend. Because of course it was Father's Day, and so the thing with Father's Day is that unlike Mother's Day, where mothers get, you know, breakfast in bed and all those things, and people fawning over them and doing things for them, with fathers, the expectation is that you're going to do even more stuff. Would you stop? Why are you fighting me? Everything's fighting me. Gosh, what a crazy weekend it's been. Are you gonna... I just can't see what the heck I'm doing. It's been too crazy of a weekend. There we go, I think. Something is just fighting me. Okay. Because we're getting to the really fun part here. Nope, there she blows. Okay, so there's that. Now, we look at all the other stuff, what needs going on. There are operating levers. So, operating levers. There's pillar wheel, which is very exciting. And this is a little spacer diddly ringy thingy. That's the thing that everybody gets all excited about. That little piece of wonderfulness. Okay, well, I've got to be right on top of this to do this, so let's pause. Okay, so here now we have to start thinking about where we saw problems before. And where we saw problems before was in the intermediate wheel here for this bridge. That little staked on wheel, that was our trouble spot. So we look at that. This is the approved Seiko test. No kidding. Ah, it looks great. Literally, Seiko says, get a little brush and see if you can turn it. If you can turn it, then it's good. And that looks good to me. That looks good. So now we are going to... Now you never, ever, ever, ever lubricate that, because lubrication at this scale will act like a glue. Okay. Now I got to put some other stuff on here. Get that going. Alrighty then. We're getting to the real fun part here now. Okay, hang on. Okay. Now, I've got that all set to go. Hang on. I don't have any doubts about this because I already looked at it, but it's always fun to see when you run the train. You can see it rolling, just like that. So that's good. Now, I've already pre-done this. Okay, there's that. Okay. Just do a little test there. Yep. Yippers. So let's wind this thing up. That feels nice and smooth. Okay. It's all the way in. So now, of course, it is that special time. We drop the balancer. Oh, come on. Come on. I don't have this set down right. There he blows. Okay. Get that put in place. And just let it sit for a second and think happy thoughts. Okay, well, definitely running. That's good news. There she blows. Okay, hang on. Okay, she's running, and I'll engage the chronograph, and we want to see how that finger looks when it, well, it's going to beat just a little bit. This is the chronograph wheel coming along right there, and we want to make sure that this intermediate wheel, well, it feels kind of stiff actually. Okay, I found the issue why that was binding up. I should have checked that. I don't know if you can see, but the pinion, this is the minute counter wheel, the pinion has started coming away from the wheel. You can actually see, you should see a little bit of daylight right there. Well, that shouldn't be that way. So what happened when then I would screw down that bridge is this would bind up because it was effectively too long, and then the whole thing would stop. So I got to fix that real quick. Okay, so we can, I don't know if you can really see the daylight there, but it's not supposed to look like that. So what we are going to do, drop that right there in our handy dandy staking press. We're going to drop this on here just like that, and we are going to get a teeny tiny mallet, if I can find the darn thing. There we go. There. That was enough to do it. So we take that back off. We take this out. And you may or may not be able to see. I hope you can see. But now there is no daylight, which is good news. Okay, so now we're going to put it back together, and we will, I'm assuming we should see that this will behave itself. Okay, I was wondering why that was fighting me when I was putting it together. I was wondering about that. You know, you get to the point where you're pretty... There's certain ways that these things behave when you're putting them together, and this one was not doing that. Come on. Okay, hang on just 1 second. Let me just make sure this is okay. We have that all together. So now we should see that this should not bind. I just assumed that it wouldn't because this wheel is normally the problem, and it wasn't a problem, so I didn't think about it. So again, the fact that the wheel and the pinion for the minute counter were coming apart meant that it was effectively too long and it was binding up inside. But we can see now that it's light and clean. So let us look at that finger. Gosh darn it. Okay, there's the finger coming around. We're going to be looking in this window right in here. Oh wait, did I stop it? Oh, I did. I am simpleton. Okay. Now it's turning. Again, we're looking in this window right there. There's the finger. Click, just like that. Okay, now we can move ahead. Okay, so movement is on my little diddly here. Let's find out what happened. 54.5. Alrighty, you ready? Okay. A little bit of beat error, we're gaining. Amplitude is doing stuff. Okay, so let's adjust. Well, this thing is running in. Sort of do an adjustment while it's hot. Okay, so we are gaining time and we have some beat error. Nothing major. So I am going to, first things first, I like to get rid of the beat error first, so I'm going to the arm that has the stud for the hairspring in it. Yeah, I was right. So I moved it to have it slow slightly, and that took out our beat error. So now I'm going to slow it again. Now I'm going to do the adjustment arm, and I'm going to make it so that the hairspring is longer, and that makes it run more slowly. Looks like the palette fork is a little noisy. Not quite sure why, but it is just settling in. I think, well, I don't know. That signal just cleaned up a bit. Okay, we still got a little bit of beat error, so hang on. Let's take that accuracy. Just a hair. I mean, I'm going to have to revisit all this stuff again as soon as we get, as soon as this runs in. I've got to let this run in overnight. These initial numbers are, I don't worry too much about the amplitude that much at this stage, because this has got to run in and everything's got to kind of slop around. I want to make sure that it's running steady and clean and that our beat error is down to basically nothing, so that I have a good base place to start. Let's try it with the chronograph stopped. There shouldn't be any change in the numbers generally going between the two things. Okay, so I'm going to pause, and we're right at the end of the day, and so I'm going to get this sort of buttoned up and let it run, and we will revisit tomorrow. If I see a real big spike, I'll film that too. It's just a few minutes later. So something went kapoop. It's always interesting. Sometimes you see this happen where you don't do anything. It's just that the lubrication moves a little bit, usually on the pallet stones, I'd say, and then you get this bump in amplitude. But I mean, again, I want to let this sit overnight. Yeah, because right now I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here looking at it just like you. Cool. Okay, well, let's try it again. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Unless, of course, I get another big spike in amplitude. Okay, so that is running. Believe it or not, it's now the next day. So that's currently running at 224 with no beat error, and looks like it's gaining 3 seconds a day. And that's dialed down chronograph running. Alrighty then. So now comes something I've actually really been looking forward to. I had to do some. Okay. We have had custom seals made for the 6138 and 6139 divers, or chronographs rather. Damn it. And these are the final revisions for the crown gaskets that just came in. So these are both long discontinued by Seiko. You can get aftermarkets, but they're not right. And they're also made of a material that I wanted to get away from. The old ones are made of just rubber. These are made of a kind of rubber called Viton. Viton is expensive and it's cool. The reason it's cool is because it's highly resistant to oxidation and degradation by chemicals and everything else like that. So like when you have that situation with old Seiko crowns that are all hard and sticky and the button just shatters off into, the gasket, shatters off into pieces like this. That is because it's just standard old dumb rubber, and the things that make it flexible go away. The chemicals that make it flexible go away, and it just turns into this hard plasticky stuff. That will not happen with these. Viton. It's expensive, like the BMW uses Viton instead of just regular old rubber, for an example. So, I'm going to put these new seals on here. Okay, so something else about the aftermarkets that are wrong. Both of the gaskets for these, their Seiko number is D. It starts with a D. So it's And the reason for that is because they're D profiles. They're flat on the inside and round on the outside. So they have to be flat on the inside because that's how they maximize surface area to seal. A lot of the aftermarket ones are just rubber donuts. DJ0016 and DJ006. Okay, you can see I already put that one on there. It's time to put this one on. This is how I do it. It's not necessarily the right way to do it. It's just, darn it, obviously it's not the right way to do it because I just had a problem. Of course, I am trying to do this. I'm trying to do this by looking through a camera screen. And there that is. That's in that place right there. We go kapoink, and it's going to stick right there because they always do. And then you're going to go like that. Kabonk. And there's your seal on. Same deal with this. You go down. You get this hooked under. Viton seals. It's the same material that is used for the crystal gaskets, which also don't go bad. Unless they're physically damaged, they can be reused. So now, we got our handy dandy springs. And this, of course, is when we test in the case, just to make sure that everything's cool. So there's that, yes? Just to make sure that it works. It should not drop right in. The gasket should stop it from going in. We knew we had to stretch it over this so that it's contacting the inner face and the outer face on the crown, and it's not dropping in by gravity into the crown tube, so we know that that's a nice fit. There, just like that. That's a good test. Hang on a second. Oh, gosh darn it, would you stop it? Stop fighting me. And there that is. Boink, boink, boink. That's good. A little bit of resistance and then it drops in. Exactly what you want. Boink, 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 boink. Viton, Viton, Viton. Kick-ass. All right. Okay, so now we have the movement cased. I'm not going to put on the winding assembly or any of that stuff yet because I want to flip it over. We've got to put the bezel on and that kind of other stuff. There's the new gasket on the case back. And we're just going to do this to keep it in place. I'm not going to really haul that down or anything else like that. Okay, hang on. Okay, so there that is. The only thing I haven't done so far is I haven't done anything with this loom here. I need to do that. Honestly, I just hadn't been thinking about it, but I need to do it. I just have to make sure that I match the rest of this stuff. This is your original sweep, and I cleaned off that weird blobby orange-red paint that was on there. This is the original Seiko color here. You can still see some of the red a little bit. It's a good hand, and I didn't want to replace it. The only thing I could do if you wanted me to do was to go over this and paint it orange. I could do that. You have to let me know if you want that to happen. So anyway, when we are doing the bezels on these, the tachymeter bezels, you have to have the movement inside. Have to. Because without it, you cannot get alignment. So, there's that. A little flaky-wicky. Okay. Alrighty then. So it's, I mean, if you want me to go back in and paint this, I can. I can also do this too, but I really want to talk to you first before doing that. Okay, let me find that Viton crystal gasket, which is so exciting. Yeah, it is really amazing, and people write me all the time. They say, well, hey, I need a new crystal gasket. Well, the crazy thing is, geez, oh, Pete, the screaming. Sorry about the kids are everywhere. The thing is that Seiko's own directives say unless these are physically damaged, they can be rinsed in alcohol and reused. They don't degrade, they don't oxidize. So this seal is almost 50 years old, and it's perfectly usable. It's not damaged. And it can go right in there, just like that. Okay, let me get a crystal. Okay, so I have a couple, going back to some of the basic cosmetic stuff. So again, I got your hand, I got that orange cleaned off. One thing about this hand, the hand tube is good. But these really are two-part hands. You have the hand tube is more or less staked to the flat hand part, and every now and then the hands can break free from the tube. They just get loose and they can move around. So I've had to re-secure this in place, but one nice thing is it allowed me to perfectly center it. I cleaned up the chips on the hour hand, and I reloomed this marker, which was missing. So that's good. That's still... No, that's fine. I'm sorry. My mind was elsewhere. Anyway, that's good. So we're moving forward. Well, that was certainly interesting. That really was. It's always fun, as I like to say, always fun to comb out the tangles. Cleaning helps a lot. Cleaning helps an awful lot. It was lots of fun. There's the repaired marker, the cleaned hand. Everything has been put back in its place as it should. I mean, there's all kinds of little things that I do that most people don't know about. Like I cleaned out and shined up the tip of this hand tube because it was sort of glued or painted over, and it's just, I always look for those because when you have that silver circle in the middle, it means it's original. Which is nice. Come on. That's what I get for being ginger. So it's a really interesting mix. RZA style, 1974 caseback, and a JDM in a JDM red text movement. But it's all serviced and everything's back together. All of your old parts and everything are in here. Here's the bracelet that it came on, which is an aftermarket 6139 7100 helmet bracelet. But most importantly, you've got Viton seals. That's the way to go. Viton. Cool. Well, thank you again for your patience. I really do appreciate it. It's a lot to ask of people, but they do it. And you're no exception. So I thank you so much for your time and your willingness to wait on me to get this done. And I hope that this watch meets your hopes and expectations. I think it's a great watch. Okay, thank you so much.